Hey there, Matthew Hill from Hill and Ponton here to take some questions for you or from you about VA law. In this session, we try to get questions answered that we know typically are not answered through our process because we cannot represent all the veterans who need the representation. So I just like to quickly jump into this because I know there's a lot out there, and I will jump from the top. I've got BRS. I believe, sir, you have come in here before. I'm a reservist. I injured my back at home while not on duty. Months later on, while not on duty. Months later on active duty training, I re-injured my back. Can I still service connect to this, or they say it's all my fault? I will say, hey, we think this started before service. Prove to us what's going on with you now. It didn't start before service. So what you need to do is to have a doctor look at you. This is a pretty complicated case. You got to say that whatever happened in service either was in and of itself a complete event that caused what's going on now, or that it aggravated what was going on before that active duty for service. If it was an aggravation, the tricky part is doctors got to say this is what the baseline was before he was aggravated. So if you met the definition for like a 10% rating beforehand, but now you're at a 40 because of what happened in service, then the doc would say that. If you win, the VA would take the 40% that you meet, and they'd subtract the 10% from that. Complicated case, but very much can be won. If they just say it happened before service, that's not the analysis. They need to talk about why what happened in service did not aggravate that. Good luck to you on that one. KY, would you please recommend a sleep apnea evaluator, preferably in California? Oh, hopefully somebody helps out on this because I don't have one, but somebody on this chain, it might have been 3 weeks ago, listed somebody who actually had, from what I could just see, looked like they've been doing this and had credentials. So hopefully KY, somebody will come up and do that again because we get a lot. I see a lot, I should say that, sleep apnea claims. And so hopefully that will come to you. So here's me hoping that whoever came through before does again. Okay, we got cerebral 1, filed plus planus denied, plus plan noted on MEPPS, physical 3-6 call visits for the feet, current diagnosis and nexus for foot condition, C&P examiner missed in-service events on STRs, HLR, supplemental claim. Sounds like you got a complete, I always kind of say supplemental claim because I want to introduce new evidence, but sounds like you actually have a complete case there. If you've got the diagnosis, you've got what happened in service, you've got a nexus. If you feel like your nexus is strong, meaning your doctor said, I read his records in service. First of all, this is diagnosis. I read his records in service, saw the accident, saw that he was being treated for this, and these two are connected. And here is why. That's the last part. It's most important. And here is why. If they say that, I say do higher level review here. It would be a quick turnaround. That's they're always talking about wanting their cases turn around faster. HLR is talking, I'm seeing anywhere from 2 weeks to 3 months. The denial rate is 90%, but you have a complete case, and if their doc literally just missed it, I think you've got a shot there. Piyama, 1911. Hey Matt, I'm 100% P&T, and I'm considering going back for SMC-K. Can you tell me how that can be accomplished? How that can be accomplished is if you have an organ. The most common one men see is failure to be able to obtain an erection. That's an organ failure, and that's what SMC-K is for. It pays about $100, and actually it's over $100 a month, but maybe $150. That would be something you could you could claim. Same thing for a kidney loss or something wrong with your liver, any kind of organ loss, you could claim for that. So you would have to say, I need to, this is not working due to one of my service-connected disabilities. Erection dysfunction is typically something you would see with like PTSD or a back case. A lot of times those are what goes on there. So I would claim those. I'd consider, this is like the caveat, always a warning, right? You're 100% your P&T. You would get $100 extra, $150, whatever it is per month. But you need to make sure you feel strong in what your P&T is for, meaning like, is the VA going to come attack you? Should they? No. Are they allowed to? Not really, but sometimes they do if you come back on their radar. So I just put that out there to you. Okay, so we've got Brian Quinn. Welcome back. Thanks for this. I have symptoms of Gulf War syndrome. Was infantry Iraq 03. Is it better to presumptive or to diagnose GERD and chronic fatigue? How do I go about the presumptive? Okay, so let me see here. With presumptive, that's a very tricky, easy answer is it's IBS, chronic fatigue, and man, I just forgot it. There's one other one that are named in the regulations. The VA cannot screw with. Okay, so if you have one of those, you're in the Gulf War, boom, service connected. If you have chronic fatigue syndrome diagnosed, you served in the Gulf War, which you did, or Gulf War theater. Okay, then that's service connected. Okay, now the GERD, problematic, challenging. Let's say challenging in that you have to show that it's related to something that happened over there. If you have GERD-like symptoms, but the doc's like, I don't think this is GERD, it's not a classic presentation. Well, those, if it's not diagnosed, that's the definition of Gulf War illness, and then that can be service connected, okay? But if you have GERD, it's diagnosed, you're gonna have to have a doc say, hey, he has this, no family history, no work problems because of, or that would cause this. Therefore, I think it's related to the Gulf War. You need a full-on opinion for that. Patrick Sexton, I received a decision on part of my claim, and some of the items were denied, but stated treatment service records or stated treatment records, record evidence in my service records is favorable findings. Why deny with favorable findings? So the VA, I'm part of an organization called the National Organization of Veterans Advocates, and we, along with a lot of veteran service officers, worked with / butted heads with the VA on this new appeals management act system. Part of the new system that we got them to concede was that on each decision, they would list out your favorable findings, okay? They would have to say that, again, let's go to the simple 3-part series. I think we had a planus, I never say a planus platus, right? We had a 3-part problem up above. So let's say that you had a foot diagnosis of pes planus, okay? You had an incident in service, okay, meaning that showing that you treated for that in service. And the VA says those are 2 favorable findings. However, we don't think you have a nexus. We don't have something that bridges the 2 together or connects the 2 together, and therefore we're denying you. What's important about this is they've admitted to your diagnosis. They've admitted to what happened in service, and no longer are you fighting a 3-front war. Okay, your focus solely is on the nexus now. So they still denied you. That's true. It's no fun, but your focus is on the nexus, because what used to happen was you'd get a denial like this, and you say, "Oh, okay, well, good. Here's my doc saying there's a nexus," and the VA would come back and say, "Well, your doctor's nexus was thorough, but we don't believe in the diagnosis." So they would just play 3-card monte on you, always moving what you need to show. Now you know you only have to show that one part. Okay. Okay. M Shell 36. How do I claim congestive heart failure or cardiomyopathy as Gulf War syndrome? Okay, so it's not Gulf War syndrome. Okay, Gulf War syndrome is basically a disease that seems to appear, like I was talking about this with GERD, that has symptoms that would look like GERD, but it's not a classic enough presentation to warrant that diagnosis. And so if it has a diagnosis, then it's not going to be Gulf War syndrome. How you can do that is a couple ways. One, if you serve near burn pits, the arguments that we're making, and this has not been, this is not universally accepted by the VA, is that we believe that if you look at the chemicals that were discharged in the burning of the burn pits, they are almost identical. And this is scary, but they are almost identical to the chemical compounds of Agent Orange. And so we've taken cases like that with yours, cardiomyopathy or congestive heart failure, and we say, look, this gentleman was in that area. He had these problems. He was exposed to this toxic gas that was in the air, and therefore we think it should be service connected. Now, if you weren't in an area with burn pits, then you're going to have to say that you're going to have to find a doctor who can say, look, this time over there in the heat, or living out in the desert, or just exposed to other toxins, that cause these diseases. But that's something you have to get a doc to show. You probably need to get service records showing what was going on over there and what you were exposed to. A little bit harder of a case, but it's not Gulf War syndrome, unfortunately. Gulf War syndrome is a syndrome that is not a diagnosed disease. Alamo Rose, I've been denied for many years with MST, assault, rape, pregnancy, PTSD, and anxiety. I am sorry to hear that. That is absolutely awful. It's one thing to have to go through that I can't imagine. It's another thing to have the government again deny that it actually happened, or that these problems arose from service. My thought, I mean, these are the cases, some of which it's interesting. Thankfully, this isn't the biggest type of case out there. Like if you were to look on a graph, MST is not, the most claimed case, but the cases that end up coming to us the most, because we find vets who have tried and tried and tried and tried, and they don't get the results that they should, even though the evidence is there. So I would say to keep on fighting. I would say that you need to show, you don't have to prove the incident happened. What you have to prove are markers of the incident. The VA has admitted, actually the DoD has admitted that these sexual trauma problems were underreported by soldiers, meaning they didn't want to go to superiors because they thought that there'd be backlash thrown at them. And then they are underrecorded, meaning those who actually did go to the superiors didn't even bother writing it down. They didn't even bother following up on it. So there's no evidence of the event. But if you can show that there was a behavior change afterward, meaning your service reports. Sorry, I'm blanking on the name right now, but basically just what you're written up on a quarterly basis as far as your reviews. If you were getting outstandings before and then you became average or below average, that's something that shows behavioral change. You can show that if you were not automatically, but very, very quickly sent to a different duty station, or your MOS was changed. Those are all things that show that something happened and basically there was a cover up. Okay. The other thing I like to use is if I have a family member or friend that can testify as to what the veteran was like before service and after service, and if there are any significant changes, that also would give you a marker of what happened. You would need to take that and then take it to a doctor to say, hey, doc, this is who I was beforehand, or this is what happened. These are the changes that happened. Can you tell me that this could have caused my PTSD? So my thought would be, this is related to service. Do not stop your fight. It's unfortunate. It is criminal what happened to you in service, and it's nearly criminal what the government is doing to you after service. Cerebral 1. Let's see here. Let's see. We got finally service connected for claustrophobia. Effective date was off by 9 years. Rating was lower than it should have been. Had CMP exam this Monday. Decision on Tuesday. Would like some help. Thanks. Gotta love that, right? You fight for years to get the service connected, and then they lowball you. This is what they do. They lowball you to see if you'll go away. I mean, there's no way around that. Especially the vets that I represent have been fighting a long time. When we come to work with them, we found that their long time fight, once we finally win, we will get one of two happens typically. Either they'll shortcut us on the effective date going back, or they'll give us a low rating. Sometimes they do both. Now, if you wait for the year to go by to where you can't appeal after that, then all of a sudden you're left with, no ability basically whatsoever to go back and get those 9 years of benefits, and the VA keeps the money. So you have a CMP exam. You need to, I'm taking it that obviously has to do with what you're service connected for. You need to go, you need to get a copy of it. There should be a decision coming from it. I would wait to appeal the decision, shortcutting or basically short shifting you on the number of years and the actual rating. I'd wait for all that to see what the CMP exam says. Hopefully they put out another decision and correct it. But if you don't get another decision within 3 months, then you need to appeal then, and you need to show why it should go all the way back. And I would write out hand statements looking at the rating codes, which we will put up right here, showing what your rating should have been from that. Okay, this is 101 VA. When they can't deny you anymore because the truth you've put in front of their face is so big, they say, okay, great. Hey, here's your benefits, and they try to see if you'll take the low-hanging fruit and not taking all the benefits to which you're entitled. All right, Luis Arroyo, 50% rating for sleep apnea, 0 for high blood pressure. Doctor will not say or write letter saying it could be secondary to sleep apnea. What are my options? Okay, first of all, I got to tell you, high blood pressure is not a diagnosis. You would need hypertension. Okay, so if it's high blood pressure is what they're saying, VA will not, I mean, a doctor might call that a diagnosis, but the VA is not going to service connect that. You know, what are your options here? You could try to get a try to get a CMP doctor to say, look, I believe this is secondary. I don't know that sleep apnea can cause high blood pressure. Makes sense to me that it would. You know, the up and down, the sleep, the no sleep, the just the constant problems as far as the just the ability to keep your sleep going. But you would need an outside doctor most likely if you can't get to the VA doctor to do that. It's been unfortunate lately that the VA docs have been very reticent. They've just not done these opinions like they should, treating VA doctors. Okay, so Frank Fairchild filing a claim for PTSD, and the VA schedule a CMP exam next week. They changed the name to major depressive disorder, and they're trying to change the wording to get the claim for PTSD. Set a denial. Okay, so you need to go to the CMP exam. If you have records showing that you have PTSD, take those records. Okay. I would also take with you a spouse or a loved one who sees how the disease affects you. Meaning, a lot of times with PTSD, individuals can't tell how they present to others. You know, what they think is just like, I'm kind of trying to get this point across to you. All of a sudden, the other person's like, wow, they're yelling at me. They're very threatening. That evidence of that other person is very effective, okay, because that shows that that's PTSD. All right. You know, this is a mixed bag to me, because with PTSD, there's a couple different ways you can get it service connected. With major depressive disorder, there's really one main one, and that's direct service connection. If they're changing the name and there's something in service you can show is related to service, then getting it service connected, that part's fine. Okay, then don't worry about PTSD anymore. Worry about them giving you the proper rating. Okay. One of the things they do with mental health disorders is again, it's that 3-card monte. They try to mess with you by giving you a different diagnosis. Oh, hey, you went in for PTSD. Well, we're going to say you have bipolar disorder. Oh, you want bipolar disorder? We're going to say you have schizophrenia. If at the end of the day they service connect you, it doesn't matter what they called it. Okay, what matters is what you went there for the first place, getting your service connected compensation. Okay, so you want to focus on, like we were just talking about a question or two ago, on them not shortchanging you. Okay, them not giving you a 30% rating for major depressive disorder when they should be giving you a 70% rating. And again, they very well might have the name of the disability wrong, but you're not here for a badge to put on your arm to say, hey, I've got service-connected PTSD. You're here to get the compensation that you deserve, that this country promised you, okay? So don't let them get you caught up in the name. Get caught up in how much they owe you, okay? Okay, Sure Howard, hi there. I am connected for a cervical strain, now have a C7 radiculopathy. Can I claim this as a solid secondary claim? Yes. Fred Davis, you're online, good to see. David Martinez, is there a way to prove, oh man, I have no idea. Atrisma in service. I have a signed statement from an NCO talking about when sailors videotaped me for no reason at work. Ostracism, I'm sorry. Can you please go into detail about social anxiety? So this would actually fall under what we traditionally call military sexual trauma, MST. It's actually assault. It's actually supposed to be assault, not specified to just sexual activities, but to a veteran or a service member being assaulted in service. So can this be a claim? Yes. If you felt like if you were being ostracized, if you felt like you were just concerned around your fellow soldiers. I apologize if y'all can hear that. My roof has a leak and it's being worked on right now. So I'm still in COVID, still working from home. So yeah, it's that can be social anxiety, and that surely can be claimed as a disability related to service. And what you would be looking for, again, if you could show that video, or you had proof of that video, or you had one of those soldiers would give a statement about it, great. If not, if you could show that your behavior changed after that, or that you were reassigned after that, or you were reassigned to a different post or a different MOS, then you could show that this is how it affected you. But short answer, yes, you can. Okay, Shemp, man, I answered your question in one answer. My team gets on my case all the time because I give too long-winded of answers, but here you got another question, so hopefully I can be to the point here. I have service connected for stress fractures in lower legs and now have knee arthritis. Can I claim? Yes, you can claim that as secondary. All right. Just make a claim on their supplemental claim and just say this is secondary to what is already service connected. Jay Moreau, what should I do if I never received a denial letter from 2018? In 2021, I got an email from the RO showing that the post office returned my mail to the VA. I'm applying for the GI Bill. I don't deal with claims with the GI Bill directly. Ben Krause, Frayne, if you could put his name up and maybe his email, he's the best in the country when it comes to these GI Bill claims. But the applicable law is that if it had a stamp from the post office showing that was the date the mail was sent out, then yeah, you've got a claim that's still open going back then. What I can't tell you is I don't know what that means for your GI Bill claim, other than it's still open going back to them. Ben Krause, and if we don't get it up, Ben Krause is the name of the attorney I send vets to when it comes to these kind of issues. He's written the book on VA benefits, on Voc Rehab VA benefits, including college. Okay, Mr. Groves, is it common for the VA to close a claim without a decision being mailed out? It was not combined with another claim, just closed out with no decision, no discussion. I'd like to say it's not common, but I see it a lot. But again, I deal with denials. I don't deal with granted claims. If they didn't discuss it, I mean, if it's two very different things, if it's you had a claim for your knee and you had a claim for migraines, and they discussed let's say they discussed their knee and didn't mention the migraines, that migraine claim is still open, and they have to determine it. So, I find this all the time in vets records where I will go in and I'm representing a vet for their knee, and I'll just try to look and see when they first applied, what all happened, and then I'll see they applied with for a migraine claim, but the migraine claim was never decided. Well, I'll go back and I'll say, wow, that's 10 years ago. We're gonna say this should still be open, and VA, you need to process it. So that does happen, and it's something you need to push forward on. Okay, Mr. Garcia got diagnosed with hyperthyroidism a few months after returning from deployment. Would it be hard to service connect? You would still need a doctor to give you a nexus on that, basically linking it between the two. I don't know how hard, I don't know where you served, I don't know what's going on, but it's doable, especially it's been a couple months, but you definitely would want a doc to do your review, your records on that. Daniel Alvarado, how does the word of a PA stronger than that of an MD? Yeah, you're gonna get me on a tangent here. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with this, because this happens a lot of times when we'll find a doctor, treating doctor, or we'll go out and be able to find a doc for one of our veterans who gives a very thorough opinion, who's specific to that area. And then they'll come back with a PA or a nurse practitioner and say, oh, well, our opinion's better than yours. That's one that I would keep appealing up to the Board of Veterans Appeals, because I think it's a bunch of baloney. Now, if their doctor was more specific, he's not service connected for this disability because he doesn't have diagnosis, or he doesn't meet the elements of the diagnosis, or he doesn't have service records that would show that, or they're not connected because of X, Y, or Z. If there's something very thorough there, then all bets are off. That guy's probably going to win. But if it's of equal, your doc's of equal opinion to theirs, you should definitely win. So I would keep appealing that. All right, so James, let's see, I'm 100%. What's the process of having my father as dependents, as he has several health issues we help pay for? He doesn't have insurance outside of Medi-Cal. I think you would have, so you would apply for another dependent. You would have to show who, you basically would have to show what's going on with him as far as, what his problems are, how he depends on you. If you're fully paying for him, then, meaning like his rent, or he lives with you, or his groceries and all that, then I think you can win. But it has to be kind of like a kid, in that you have to be in full control. If he lives by himself, pays his own rent, but you pay for the groceries and you take him to the doc, pay for his health care, that might not cut it. I would definitely retain a veteran service officer, VA, excuse me, I'm off this morning, DAV, Veterans of Foreign Wars, American Legion, one of those. They're very, very good at this, and I would hope they could help you on it, because this is not something directly we do. I just found in the past that it was trickier than I thought it should be, frankly. Victor Williams, I have ratings in my ears. How do I start I have ringing in my ears. How do I start a claim? Cut off there. So I'm going to assume you're saying, how do you start a claim? That's tinnitus, typically is what would cause the ringing. You just need to file. I would go to Veteran Service Officer again. They can basically put all these paperwork through for you, put it in the system quickly, and get you going. And that way you don't have to mess with what is this form versus that form, and they help you do it all. George Ellis, I am 70% service connected for my PTSD. I filed for TDIU, I had an exam. My file is pending an appeal decision. What is the average time for a decision? Well, Mr. Ellis, it depends on if you were in their old system. It can be anywhere from 2 to 3 years. The new system, it could be, it depends if you are at the supplemental claim. There's so many different stages they have now, meaning you just filed a case, or you filed a new supplemental claim because you didn't like what they did on the first supplemental claim, or if you filed higher level review. I would hope to think that within the year, I'm going to go on a limb, say maybe 3 months, you should have a decision at that point. But this whole new system is it's the Wild West. There's no rhyme or reason when what decision gets decided. And the VA has basically admitted it. They are getting decisions out quickly. It's hard to determine which ones of those are the ones coming out quickly. Okay, Abraham Gutierrez, I am a retired Navy CPO with 24 years of honorable service. Thank you, sir. I am retired close to 100% disabled. I filled another claim but was denied. I have sleep apnea. Okay. You see, did you put more in here somewhere? Don't quite see a question there. So if you want to come back with a question, I'm hoping we could answer that before we leave. But I would file that if I were you. That's, I guess, something I would, short answer. Okay, so I got quite a few other questions here and run out of time. Just lost where I was. Okay, so, and PTSD. Should I file another claim? Yes, you should file another claim for the sleep apnea. Look to get a higher rating for sleep apnea if you can. And I would definitely say it's secondary to PTSD. VA is doing their best not to recognize that sleep apnea can be caused by PTSD. If you can get a doctor to show that it is, that would help you a lot. But that would hopefully get you up closer. Hola, Homer Alabos, 90%. Can I apply for IU? Quick answer is yes, you can. That's definitely, yes, you definitely qualify. And you just need to show that those disabilities cause you to not be able to work. Mr. Tate, answer that for me. Thank you. Mr. Chimp Bobo, at 50% for PTSD, going for an increase, should I file TDIU at the same time? Yes. I'll always do that. They will deny it. Who cares? Keep on appealing that too until you get both of them. Scott Marine, I was at peacetime at Fort Devens for 4 years, 81 to 85. My health is in the toilet. What can you do for me? Oh man, Fort Devens. We have had Fort Devens was basically a toxic waste dump from the research that we've done. We have not had as great a success at that as I'd like. If you want to send in your case and give us your circumstances, I'd like to see what we could do. But when I first did my thorough analysis of the fort, I thought, wow, there's going to be so many claims coming out of here that could be service connected, and that has not been the case so far. So we've been pushing that, but you're going to need a toxicologist to say whatever problem you have is related to whatever was in the soil or in the water there. That's a hard case, and I'm not going to deny that, but it's probably a strong case too, in that if whatever happened or is going on with you now happened because of that, you just got to keep pushing. And if the evidence is out there, then I wouldn't stray away from it, no matter what the VA says. Hope Wilson, it is so hard to get help when you really need it from the proper people in Louisiana. I'm sorry to hear that, Hope. I'm hoping that through these short sessions, we're able to offer some help and guidance on that. Mr. Tate, any advice for behavioral health in DBQ for initial DSM-5 during CMP exam? Thank you. Well, so I'm assuming you're going to CMP exam, so you don't have to fill out the DBQ. So the advice is be honest and be forthcoming. So you don't wait, when the doc says, how are you today? You don't say, oh, I'm good. You say, wow, I was able to get out of bed, doc. This was not an easy thing for me to do. I would also offer a written statement of anyone who knows you personally and watches you on your day-to-day life. I would take that with you. I'd take in a wife or some kind of spouse if you can. I know with COVID right now, that's become a lot trickier. But you just want to make sure you get your point across. The doc's going to ask a lot of questions where he's literally just checking boxes. And you just want to say, hey, I need you to understand that these are the things I'm going through, and I'd really appreciate it if you hear this too. That's what I would recommend. John Hill, letter from VA was sent saying that I need to come back to finish CMP exam. I went to all of mine and was awarded comp. Latest was CMP for plantar fasciitis, just awarded in Feb 1st, 2021. Okay, so going down a little bit, is this because they changed the new codes and are different? Is that why they're asking you back? I was also rated 50% and new max is only 30. Can they reduce me? I'm nervous about going when it's only been 2 months. I don't want them to jack with me. Okay, so can they reduce you? They can always reduce you. I mean, I think all vets just need to understand that. They can reduce you. Is it legal all the time? No. Is it legal a lot of time? No. But you got to understand, they have the ability to come in there and do that. What you need to do is fight back and make sure you should not be reduced. Okay, show them that nothing has changed in the daily activities of your life. The problems that you've had because of that foot when you were rated are the same now. Best way to do that is through medical records showing, hey, this is what's been going on and nothing has changed. And so it's important to keep going to the doctors, even if nothing's changed, just so you can show that to the VA. I don't, it would just be speculation for me to say what they're bringing you back for. I see VA bring people back all the time. Frankly, sometimes they do it because they screwed up on their calendar. They double book them. But I would go back and just make sure you get across again. This is what's going on. It's going on the last time I was in here. It hasn't changed. I don't see it getting any better. Thank you very much. Mr. Liam, good to see you back. I'm 100% for PTSD. Can I get caretaker and/or aid in attendance payments on top of what I'm getting from 100%? Okay. Caretaker is for anyone after post 9/11, and it's an award through the Veterans Health Administration. You can get all those awards separate from anything you get from what we talk about here, the Veterans Benefits Administration. If you're talking about aid and attendance through the Veterans Benefit Administration, what we do, that is an extra, I think it's $400 or $500 on top of what you're getting at 100%. So yes, you can get both those. Sergeant B, do you guys help with traumatic brain injuries, benefits and denials, as well as Voc Rehab? We do not do Voc Rehab. Again, that fella, Ben Krause, that's all he does is Voc Rehab. I think he does a phenomenal job. He's based out of Minneapolis, I believe, and he's worth looking up. We do help people with traumatic brain injuries. He does those as well. I mean, honestly, if you're looking for a one-stop shop, he might be your guy. He's excellent at both. We pride ourselves on the work we do with traumatic brain injuries, but he'd be a great person to go to for if you're looking to do 2 for 1. Tom, Marine vet, always got my back. I appreciate that, sir. Gary Medrozo, 80%, 50% for sleep apnea, multiple orthopedic, 10% ratings. I deployed twice, divorced after each deployment, had suicidal ideation, and was never seen. Any way to claim this? Yes, the claim clearly is a mental health condition. The claim is either secondary to all your service-connected disabilities you've had to go through, you have a mental health condition, or just straight up there was stress, or there was some kind of stressor you had while in service, while in theater. So yes, you have 2 different ways: secondary to what you're already service connected for, or primary to what happened over there. Walter Ladd. Hello, I'm Walter. Just got 70% for tinnitus and speech, going through radiation for brain tumor, headaches daily. How do I apply for TDIU? You send in a form, what's called an 8940. It's actually 21-8940. If you look up unemployability form on the web, you'll find it, and you should send it in right away. Brian Quinn, chronic fatigue, GERD, IBS, tinnitus, PTSD, also dealing with upper back thoracic issues, took a hard fall in Iraq. Service records are clean, been out since '04, best plan of attack. Okay, so if you're in Iraq, chronic fatigue, IBS should be automatically service connected. Something might have changed, and they are now saying that GERD is on 38 CFR 3.117, the regulation for Gulf War syndrome. I have never seen that, but I could be wrong before. I've just seen 2 people put that on there. So check that up on me. I could be wrong. I don't have all this information in front of me right now. But back to chronic fatigue, IBS should be automatic. PTSD, again, you got to show a stressor. If you're in a combat theater, that is a stressor in and of itself, and you should be able to get a doctor to, or PTSD, excuse me, you should get a mental health doctor from the VA to say, hey, this is service connected. The fall on your back, you need statements from people who were there with you, people who saw it happen, or people who knew you before and after, or saw you right after, and you're like, hey, I don't know what happened to this guy, but this is not how he was. He didn't normally have this limp or didn't have this pain. So that's what I would look at on those. Helen Moretti, is your DD-214 the only way to prove your duties in Iraq, i.e. flying around multiple medical sites to inspect them in ill-fitting body armor? I mean, you could, if you could show you had TDY, I would pull your full service jacket. So you need to request your C file, which will have your full service records in there. Hopefully that would have that in there. Otherwise, again, you're looking for buddy statements. You're looking for people to back up what you did. But the DD-214 is not in enough detail. The full service jacket would show, when you came in, where you trained, what your training was, and then where were you deployed and what you did, and go from there. Okay, Mr. Quinn, ETS from Iraq, '03, never got a physical out of the Army in '04. Later VA set up an appointment and asked for symptoms. When I listed them, they said, good luck proving that since I didn't seek treatment. And I mean, again, unfortunately, what can you do? Buddy statements would be what I would do. Debbie Yoakum, my husband passed. Oh, sorry to hear that, Debbie. No kids, married less than a year, but we were married with 15 years. Been denied twice. Okay, I don't think I quite understand that. Married less than a year, but we were married with 15 years. Any advice? Been denied twice. If you were in a common law marriage, then you can prove that, and that varies from state to state. It's a little tricky. Then you could show, yes, that you were service connected, that you were together long enough for over that 1 year. However, if you were married 15 years and then got a divorce, then it gets really tricky. You got a divorce and then got back together. The law does not really allow for a continuation, or basically getting to use the 15 years prior to whatever you were at this point. So that could be hard. One caveat there is if you got divorced because of his actions due to a service-connected disability, where I see this all the time as PTSD. If a spouse is being abused, they have no other recourse than what they do is they leave the vet, and to leave the vet, they have to divorce them. Then you can show that. Extremely difficult case, though. Okay. Sergeant B, I want to ask a bigger question, but currently driving. Should be back in my computer about 10 minutes. All right. I'm not sure how long ago that was. I went to the 15-year rule. Debbie, I'm not quite familiar with the 15-year rule when it comes to service connection. So if that is a rule, I'd go for it because the avenue I was suggesting is difficult. All right, I'm running out of time, getting in trouble. So I'm going to end with Mr. Ramirez. Been 100% for 5 years. Only bilateral knee instability was due for a routine future exam. After CMP, VA did not award P&T. New future exam due to age, chance of getting better. Have you seen this? You're 43 years old. I have seen this. I actually have seen this to where the VA has started to put these in their system because they know over time a knee only gets worse, an orthopedic injury only gets worse, and so they look to increase the veteran. I was told that by kind of the top brass of the VA. I haven't really got to see that in person with my vets, but again, I would be very, very persistent in saying, this is how I feel today. This is how I feel when y'all rated me. If it's the same, nothing's changed, they need to understand that. Okay, I did not get to a lot of these questions, and I'm sorry I couldn't, but hopefully we'll have a chance to answer these at the beginning of next time, because I know there are quite a few. I sure appreciate you all coming on, and I want to make sure we can do what we can do just to give some basic answers and point you all in the right direction. I've been trying to do these every Wednesday. It's been kind of inconsistent over the last couple weeks at least. And so again, what I'd ask you to do is subscribe to the channel and then go ahead and hit the notification button on there so that when I go on, you guys know I'm here and you can get your question in here quickly, and hopefully it's something I could help answer. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for your service. Hope I was able to answer some of your questions today. If you have a disability you believe is related to service, just keep on fighting. Hopefully, you get what you deserve. Take care.